Good morning, happy Friday. I just watched a video New England Truth made. It was recommended to me. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, obviously New England Truth lied. The situation is entirely predictable. He goes to a courthouse. Inside the courthouse, they have their little security checkpoint and a sign saying no photography and some other things. He debates with the deputies or police officers or whoever that are manning that little checkpoint that he thinks he should be able to film walking over to that little sign. He should be able to film the sign and walk out. That doggy's not very happy this morning. I don't know why he's barking so much. Anyway, they tell him he's wrong, and then they take him by the elbow and escort him out of the building, which is, he probably could have been trespassed. I think it was in Albany, New York. I'd have to take the time to look up trespass statutes for New York and for Albany. He probably could have been arrested for contempt of court. Again, I'd have to check to see if there was some sort of a court order prohibiting filming. And I really don't care to do that. But he spends the next 10 minutes making an ass out of himself, demanding to see a supervisor, telling him he's going to sue him, hollering about how he's an attorney, which I don't think he is. He doesn't sound like an attorney. He doesn't act like an attorney. Attorneys don't just run around throwing down case law that I've seen. I've never seen attorneys just start throwing case law if they're interacting with the police. And I've never seen an attorney get heated like that and just start yelling nonsensical things at the police. But I guess theoretically it is possible that he's an attorney. I just am highly doubtful of it. Bragging he has case law with his name on it. Okay, dude. So anyway, sergeant comes out eventually. It's like about 10 minutes later. And the sergeant's really calm. Oh yeah, the guy also says that he was a part-time or a reserve officer, and he was an officer in some other place. I don't know. But then he asks the officer if, after saying this to the officer, he asks the officer if the officer's body cam is recording. The officer's like, yeah, the red light's on. You just showed that you don't know anything about body cameras. I mean, hell, I'm a dumbass. Wait, what's the common saying? Family law attorney? You're just a family law attorney? I'm just a first year family law attorney out of California, and I know that if the red light's on, red means stop, don't violate the person's rights. Green means go ahead and violate their rights. Everybody knows that. Cop looks down. If he has a green to violate your rights, it's a go. If it's a red to not violate your rights, he has to stop. I kid, obviously, but you know. Anyway. So that was pretty stupid. The sergeant was very polite. I think he knew he was dealing with somebody who was mentally unstable and probably mentally challenged. He allowed the auditor to go in to film the sign, and then the auditor left. Congratulations. Oh yeah, and the auditor's like, oh, I'm going to sue you all for battery. I'm going to sue you for assault and battery. And you can just tell that all those officers are so scared. I mean, Lord have mercy. No, I don't think it was battery. No, I don't think it was assault. They probably are very well covered to take someone by the elbow and lead them out of a building in lieu of trespassing them, in lieu of arresting them, etc. So, if I remember, I'll throw a link in the description for that video so you can enjoy his hijinks and tomfoolery. He didn't show any corruption. He showed that the police were super nice, and he showed that there was indeed no filming allowed in that courtroom. Congratulations. I suppose people are chalking that up to a win. I haven't read the comments, but it's pretty retarded. Now on to the anti-vaxxer BS. I'm a skeptic who's been having verbal diarrhea, or I guess typed diarrhea, all over my comments. He's attempting to do a Gish Gallop. I was up till about 11 last night responding to his nonsense. The gist of it is that he searches, or maybe there's some anti-vaxxer website a la Mark Stevens, where they have these misunderstood papers linked with garbage already pre-typed for you to spew around comment sections. But basically what it is he'll have the link to a National Institute of Health medical article, like a peer-reviewed scientific study that he thinks disproves the efficacy or the usefulness of vaccines. And they don't. So that's been fun, actually having to read the little articles just to figure out that he either misunderstood the quote or quoted something that's kind of tangential to the article. Like, oh, these people got sick despite having taken their vaccinations. Oh my God, vaccines don't work. So then you look up the article. Okay. Yeah, it says that they did. Okay. Now, what kind of a vaccine was it? How long does it last? What's the efficacy of it? Is it 90% effective? Is it 80% effective? Is it 100% effective against the severe forms, but only 80% effective against the milder forms? So you look this stuff up and you see that, yeah, that's the case. Or the study will say that the symptoms of the people who've had the vaccine were milder than normal, with no like extra complications or no deaths from this thing, where if you get it where you're not vaccinated, you're most likely going to die from it. Things like that. So he doesn't understand the papers, and he's just spewing the nonsense out there. He did link to junk science. There are, and I'm using the term loosely, medical or scientific journals out there where it's just you pay to get published in it. There's no peer review. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. My parents did that BS. They were contacted by somebody who was selling books of poetry, and if you bought the book, they would publish your poem in it. So my parents thought that was a wonderful idea, and they each wrote a poem to the other. And so they bought these 2 poetry books, and yeah, it has nothing to do with the merit of their poems. They bought the book, and so they bought the opportunity to be published in it. It's just making money. But anyway, the guy who wrote the article had a bachelor's in engineering. Yeah, it's not very impressive. There's a website called ResearchGate that they have a lot of because you'll see like creationists do the same kind of bullshit. They'll publish their paper in some sort of a journal that they made up. It doesn't do peer review, and they'll be like, "See, look at this scientific study that showed that, I don't know, evolution doesn't work," or whatever. Typical nonsense. Friends coming, we're gonna reel them in. Good morning. So, all right, I apologize about that. I was paying attention to my dog. So, that was junk science. The other thing that he doesn't do, even though he's very willing to try to cite National Institute of Health studies as, look, the scientists agree with me, even though they don't. He's just misreading studies or cherry picking a sentence out of them. He refuses to look at all of the other NIH studies that back the science of vaccines and the efficacy and all that other fun stuff. But he's like, hey, flu shots aren't 100% effective and they don't last forever, so therefore bad. This whole science boils down to vaccines aren't perfect, therefore they're bad. And no, seatbelts aren't perfect. That doesn't mean you're not in a much better position if you wear a seatbelt. He also doesn't understand informed consent. Again, informed consent is a theory of negligence. You can sue a doctor under informed consent, at least in California. Other states may vary. I haven't looked it up in other states. I don't really care to. It doesn't mean what it thinks it means, but informed consent is a theory of liability, of negligence. The doctor didn't tell me. If the doctor had told me, I wouldn't have done it. Therefore, even because the surgery went perfectly, even though the surgeon otherwise used he upheld the standard of care, the appropriate standard of care. He wasn't negligent otherwise. Because he didn't tell me all the details, he's liable under that. As opposed to, he left a clamp in me. I guess that'd be battery. No, that wouldn't be battery. That'd still be a negligence theory. He left a clamp in me when he sewed me up. Battery would be if you didn't consent to the surgery at all, or if you consented to one surgery and you got a different surgery, like the people who they sign up to get one shoulder operated on, like they sign up to get their left shoulder operated on, and they end up getting their right shoulder operated on. Those would be batteries, but it's a form of liability, tort liability. You can sue a doctor for failing to give you, for adequately informing you of the risks involved, but the doctor doesn't have to tell you all the far-fetched and remote risks. Like if there's a 1 in 2 million chance or something like that you can get encephalopathy, maybe, depending on whether or not the incidence is reported to the CDC, actually were directly related to the vaccine. He probably doesn't have to tell you that. It's where it's what he has to tell, when he has to tell it to you is if a reasonably prudent person could change their mind about getting the operation based on those facts. Oh, you have a 1 in 2 million chance of encephalopathy or something stupid like that. Probably a lot lower than that. It's 200 some odd, like 220 cases reported in the last 28 years of the MMR vaccine. That a reasonably prudent person would still get the MMR vaccine because it's way better than getting measles or mumps. And even that vaccine, you could look at it, and the vaccine lasts for different lengths of time for different diseases, and the efficacy of the vaccine is different for different diseases. So it's almost a direct correlation with the nonsense that we've seen with the people who gish gallop the cases, the Mark Stevens, who misquote cases, but they throw these links out faster than you can read and debunk them. It's exactly that's going on. He doesn't understand what he's typing. He's just throwing everything against the wall, hoping something sticks. And ultimately, at the end of the day, his position is that because vaccines aren't 100% effective all of the time, because they don't last forever, then now we have to get rid of vaccines. We shouldn't make somebody take vaccines. We shouldn't mandate it. And that's a silly position. Obviously, you're entitled to it. You know, I respect your right to have the position, but it's a pretty retarded position considering how the data, not the fear-mongering, but the data shows that vaccines are incredibly safe and incredibly effective, and you're being silly to think that you shouldn't be able to, or you shouldn't be forced to. These same people probably smoke pot, and they think that, you know, it's super safe. It's the safest thing ever. It's actually good for your lungs. Silliness. Anyway, I'm sure that just started another round of idiocy in my comments. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful Friday.